Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 6th, 2023 Hamlin Planning Board. At this time, I'd like to tell you that the exits are the entrance that you came in on and another set the other end of the hall. Okay, there's an AED across the hall if needed. Okay, at this time, I would ask everybody in the audience to turn off their cell phones or any other electronic devices, so everybody has the ability to voice their concerns or raise the issues for what they're here for. All right, with that, could you call the roll?
Steve Law.
Here.
Dave Martin.
Here.
Chris Schleider.
Here.
Mark Bellerstein.
Here.
James Nesbitt.
Here.
Steve Hittner. Excused.
Don't excuse.
Sharon Steigerwald. Here.
Okay, very good. Is there all the members of the board had a chance to look at the January 4th meeting minutes? Would there be any additions, deletions, corrections, or anything? If so, voice them now.
Yes,
Okay.
I just thought we had asked Mr. Bauer to find out if there was a firewall between his place and the gym.
I was assured by the owner, Mr. Kruger, that there was a firewall in between there. Bauer's place, his rental, and then I did ask the fire marshal to go and check and inspect, and I did not hear whether he was able to look there.
It just wasn't in.
Any other comments, corrections? If not, is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Full the votes.
Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider.
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein.
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Sharon Steigerwald.
Yes.
Okay, first item on the agenda is a commercial site plan modification for Mr. Michael Boss at 47 King Street.
Not bad.
For the sake of the other people here, you might want to reiterate a little bit of what you did the last time and bring us up to speed and the things that you might have been tasked to do that you've done.
So last time we were tasked to move a fuel tank in between two buildings. We have done so since then. We turned in a letter of intent along with a shorthand.
Okay.
And I believe last time we had a site plan provided.
Well, there's one on the board, so I don't know if you might want to point things out and where you moved something and anything that.
So we have moved, I believe this is our parking area.
The parking area where Mike Boss parks the trucks is up on 74 King Street, the back upper right, and that's also in his lease. It's written down 74 King Street. And then his building is located at 47 King Street, and in 47 King Street and Gene's Dance Studio, there was a fuel tank which was moved, and I verified that when I got back in town in Florida last week. So he did move that. I believe it was Friday, Saturday. He moved that. Yep. And both the buildings, actually all the buildings, Gene's Dance Studio and his building is complete firewall. It's masonry block. That's in there.
Okay. All righty. This isn't a public hearing, but it's a matter of the next step along in the process for us to take a look at it. And do you have anything to add?
No, I think we're in compliance at this point.
All right. JP.
I had 3 comments back in December. One was regarding the diesel fuel tank. The other one was regarding parking, and we addressed both of those. And the third was relating to the proximity to West Creek, and that happens to have a federal wetland and a 100-year floodplain associated with it. But since they're really not developing anything and they're removing the storage tank, kind of addresses all of my engineering concerns.
Okay, Keith?
Well, my comments from last month really haven't changed significantly. We have received what we described as a letter of intent. This is not really a site plan, it's more of a subdivision map, but what it does offer us is some clarification that they intend to use both 47 and at least a portion of 74 King Street. And so our record should indicate that when we ultimately do a motion. I guess the bigger issue is whether the board is satisfied with the materials of what would be the mayor survey map from 2007, if that answers your questions in lieu of a more formal site plan. Nothing further.
Cheryl?
I think they've cooperated and have supplied all the information to the best of everyone's ability concerning about, the site plan. I think they're ready.
Short EAF is complete. Get a chance to review it. Cheryl?
No, I have not had anything to do. I just received it tonight.
Give us a few minutes, Cheryl. Any questions on the board? Sheriff?
No.
No, I just want to say thank you for this time.
Absolutely.
Does the DEC require protection around that tank?
No, sir, that does not come until 1,200 gallons.
Well, what's that, 1,000?
Yes.
Mhm.
What's it? It's 800 working.
Yeah. Okay.
Chris, I would just note that item 6 and 16 on the short EAF are unanswered by the applicant.
6 and 18.
Yeah,
Do they pertain?
well, they're easy to answer.
Okay.
So,
But you said 6 and 18?
I'm sorry, 6 and 16.
Okay, project subject. The site is located in a 100-year floodplain or adjacent to,
It is, yeah.
so it's a yes. But there's no intrusion or problem.
No change to
No
the floodplain.
significant change to the
whatsoever.
construction. Okay, item 6. Is proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing, it says built, but I'm sure it meant building.
Actually, it would be built.
It's built landscape.
Yeah, they're referring to the built environment.
Built
generally.
environment.
Because they're not changing anything.
So
Can't
with
be
this
more
change,
consistent.
Okay.
No, I think it's really pretty simple now. Ready to go.
Mark, question?
Where did the tank end up? Maybe I just missed that part of it.
It's down in our parking area here,
And that's
50 feet
74.
away from, this is our parking area, and this is a storage building. It's 50 feet this way and 50 feet away from the fence. I have it on a trailer, but, yeah, that's what everybody asks, is 50 feet away from any structure.
Yep. Okay. And is this considered a type 2 then, Keith? From a seeker standpoint?
Unlisted.
Unlisted. No, I have no other questions.
Okay, for this one, this does not need a public hearing?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay, do we want to do the seeker now?
No, I don't see any benefit in doing that.
Okay, so the next step is schedule a public hearing. Okay, for
I'll make a motion, schedule the application of Michael Boss, 47 King Street. For a public hearing, and we'll get a candidate. March 6th.
6.
Thank you. Sorry.
Pull the votes,
You get the
please.
date right.
Sharon Steigerwald,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rich Slider,
Yes.
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Mark Feuerstein.
Yes.
Okay. And this will bring the use and property back into conformance, is that correct? Cheryl?
That's correct.
Upon approval?
Yes.
Thank you.
All good. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right. Next item on the agenda is Jeremy Bauer. Jeremy's having, oh, there you are. You're in the back row.
Too short. It's okay. You good?
All righty. Where are we with you? I see a letter of intent. And you also heard your shorty,
Yep. As far as I know, I believe that's besides the firewall and besides having an actual PJ come down, which I'm assuming they'll just come down when they come down. But I don't think paperwork wise, I could ask for anything.
JP.
We had pretty similar comments last month that were related to parking and discussing, because the sites are pretty much filled up, how they're going to situate any parking. Identify fuel and waste material storage, and being a cycle shop, repair shop, you do have to make some noise once in a while, and making sure it meets the code regarding noise and odors and smoke and dust, etc.
Two items were left unanswered. Okay, and environmental assessment form.
Which
One
ones?
was number 9, does the proposed action meet or exceed state energy code requirements?
Yeah, I brought one, the other one should be the flood plan one. I believe there's one.
That would be zone A.
Yeah, when I handed it, I brought both those up, I just don't know the answer to those questions. And there's no NA in there.
Do they pertain energy code here?
Should be an NA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And 100-year flood zone, then that is yes. Okay.
Chris, I just double checked my notes, because the way the buildings are laid out, as you get closer to the corner of the floodplain is impacted. I didn't make note of it in my letter, so I'm assuming that they just squeeze out. But again, they're not, even if it is, they're not doing any development in the floodplain, they're existing buildings, so they shouldn't need a floodplain development permit.
That, talking about the creek in the back,
Yeah,
and then how that building is like angled towards it, you're saying?
yeah, that's correct.
Actually, I believe that building right there is probably about a good 35 feet away from that creek, a lot more further than Mike Boss's.
Yeah,
And the elevation is higher where he was located.
right, so I didn't make note of it in my first
So
time,
it should be NA?
or no, I don't think,
Or
I don't think that particular piece is in the flood.
So application we have on files should. We go back to your comments.
Pretty much the same comments as on the last application.
Okay, Cheryl?
I had no comments.
Once again, is to bring the use of property into conformance. Cheryl?
Or you mean Sharon?
Sure. Come 2 minutes close together.
You on the end.
Cheesecake.
Yeah.
It's a cheesecake. I don't know what you
No, I was just, concerned with the firewall, that was my only thought.
No concerns.
Dave?
You got adequate ventilation in there?
Yeah, there's probably a 4x4 big exhaust fan in the top left corner of the back, so it'll pump you, turn it on and it'll suck some stuff out of there, yeah.
Did the fire marshal come through and check you out?
He hasn't come through since, well, the day that I actually met him, but he didn't even come through then, no. I actually thought he was supposed to call or something, or set something up possibly to do I don't know if he wants to do an initial inspection or whatever he does typically for that building, but I haven't had any contact with him, no.
I think we probably should have something on record before we make any kind of approval.
Well, we got a public hearing.
Yeah.
I will reiterate it.
Thank you.
You better stick with them because, you wanna make sure you're really safe.
What, so,
You make sure he comes through and checks you out.
and for exactly what?
Well,
Make sure it's all-
you want any.
Just for his
hazards
personal
that-
opinion, you're saying, on like how things are set up?
Well, he
how things
knows
should
the
be
rules.
stored?
He knows the rules,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Alright.
Okay,
No, you're talking like fire.
he has a checklist, he should go through that with you.
Yep. Yeah, I got everything working in there, exit signs and fire extinguishers, and
Mhm.
it should, as far as I'm concerned, be up to code,
Okay,
honestly.
He might require a certain kind of extinguisher.
I'm sure he does, yeah.
Thing like that, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Carbon monoxide.
I have all that, I have got smoke detectors in there, carbon monoxide detectors, I got fans, exhaust fans, I got circuit breakers, I got, they're
Keep it
backups,
safe.
yeah, oh, yeah.
you got parakeet to check,
Unless,
canary, yeah.
Jim Nesbitt?
No, I appreciate what you wrote up. You did a nice job on that.
yeah, thank you. It's been pretty much where I grew up, so I have a bunch of stuff here, so really would be nice for some other things to step in and have you go to Spencerport or Greece or Rochester or something. Simple stuff even like that, light stuff, iron, or anything.
Are you planning on doing any spray painting
No,
on in there?
I'm actually taking away a large portion of the services I do, because when I started off, you say you want to do everything, I don't want to turn the customers down, but now I'm pretty much focusing on orders themselves, honestly.
Thank you.
A whole new dimension when you go in the spray.
Yeah,
painting.
it's
Yeah, that's just it, I want to say I can do everything, but then I gotta spend another $5,000 in tools just to say I can do it.
Okay, somebody like
I
to,
make a motion to set the application Jerry Bauer, 53 King Street for public hearing March 6th.
Second.
Sharon Steigerwald,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rich Slider,
yes,
James Nesbitt,
Yes.
Mark Ellison.
Yes.
okay.
Is that now something I'll go through for again, and it'll be the public and their,
It should be the last one, as long
any
as you have,
grievances that
as
they
long as you
want.
have the fire marshal go through and give you his stamp of approval. And nobody comes in.
What is your stamp of approval that what do you need to justify it, like, need to have him, hey, call Steve? Or what do I need from him? Is he gonna give me a
I'll
piece
take
Cheryl will
of
talk to
take care
paper?
of all that.
Cheryl take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take
She'll
care
chase him down.
That's fine.
We're almost there.
Awesome. Alright, appreciate it. All set?
Yep.
Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay. Next item on the agenda, Roger Young, Karen Underborn, 896 Hamlin Clarkson Town Line Road, property merge.
Good evening, members of the planning board.
My name is Douglas Heath. I'm an attorney in Holly at Heath and Heath, representing the applicant Karen Unterborn, who is with us this evening. This is an application by Ms. Unterborn to add a parcel of land, a strip of land to the north bounds of her property. It would be a strip of land about 50 feet north and south and 290 feet east and west. This is a piece of property that she has been wanting to add to her property for a long time, and Mr. Young has now agreed to otherwise sell the property to her. I did include in the application a copy of the purchase and sale contract for you to review, indicating that she does have the ability to be here this evening or the right to be here. This is our initial appearance. I provided you with an explanation, my cover letter, the application itself, our short form environmental, and it appears that from my looking at the ag district statement, there is no farming activities within 500 feet of our property. I've also included 2 instrument survey maps, one provided by Meyer Survey, and that is of a former loophole re-subdivision, but he's indicated in the dotted line the lands that we want to add. And then I included a copy of Mrs. Unterborn's original instrument survey map, which I have put a hand sketch on showing the parcel that is to be added. My conversations with Cheryl indicated that this would be a merger. I'm certainly at the comment and mercy of the planning board if this is a merger or an actual subdivision. My client's intent is to merge this parcel with her own residential parcel to come up with one tax map and one description for her parcel. There's going to be no development whatsoever in the parcel to be merged.
Okay. Judy? Significant portion of this parcel is in a conservation corridor development area.
There's not gonna be any developments or any concerns.
Does that need to be added to any motion? No further development shall be made within that area as part of the motion or?
I don't think so. We're just doing, well, merger, yes.
Okay.
We're not doing any site plan kind of.
Okay, stand to answer question. And we didn't hit it. JP?
I don't even see it as a merger. It looks like a lot line adjustment. You're taking from what is lot R1 and adding to what's labeled as R lot 4. So to me, it's a lot line adjustment and not even a merger.
Of the original subdivision.
Right.
In either event, it exempts them from the need for a public hearing, which is really, I think, what it's all about.
Okay. So what num de plume should we call this?
Either one, doesn't matter.
Property.
Lot line adjustment is perhaps a bit more accurate, yes, a bit more focused.
Okay, everybody got that in their notes? Okay, Cheryl?
I don't have any concerns.
I have to recuse myself from this application.
Very good.
No concerns.
Dave?
Also,
Thanks. Mark?
yeah, no comments, no questions.
I guess I'd like some kind of resolution for seeker and is outlined in 1-4.
Yeah.
The subdivision. Lot line adjustment.
Make a motion then for Roger Young, Karen Underborn, 896 Hamlin Parks and Town Line Road, for a type 2 negative deck.
Second.
This is
Okay.
type 2 action.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, another resolution, please.
Second, motion here for Roger Young, Karen Underborn, 896 Hamlin Parks and Town Line Road,
Owners Roger Young and Linda Young, irrevocable trust, seeking a property merge for a 50 by 290-foot strip of land off the southeast corner of lands of Young to the north line of her residence parcel from tax number 028.02-1-26.1 to tax account 028.020-1-25. This is in an RM zoning district. The following documents have been submitted for review: letter of intent, property merge application, purchase and sale contract, instrument survey, short EAF forms, and the A data statement. This is according to our tonight. We're talking this as a lot line adjustment.
Steve Block.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Chris Schleider.
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Mark Dellerstein.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Good evening.
You too. Thanks, Doug.
Thank
Okay,
you.
next item on the agenda is a property split. Mr. Steve Delano at 2431 Schoolhouse Road. Steve, how are you tonight? Pretty good. How are you? Very good.
Sir, I have to make, and there is an error on the agenda. I think, well, I had property merge on mine, but it's a property split. What do you have on your agenda?
Property split.
Okay, I have an old one then. Okay.
What's that?
We're good.
We're good.
Good.
I have everybody know that Steve is well known as a good guy. Actually, his father and I worked together a lot of years, so I've known Steve for a long time.
Is that you have to include yourself?
I can do whatever you people wish. He's gonna hold himself to a higher standard, I'm sure. Now, that being said, go ahead.
2431 Brick Schoolhouse. And I've got 20 acres there. I hope, you want me to put up the site plan? So about 30 years ago, we built a house. That's the last time I was here. And hoping to cut off 3 acres for my daughter, sell my house to my daughter. And I'm hoping to keep the balance of the land and go back up right behind the apple orchard and build a 1,600 something square foot house.
Where's the property?
As you go up the driveway to the building.
On the west side, top of the property, from that hill.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
yes. I don't know if you can see that. That's our.
Easy, right? Okay. All right.
This
Now we
is
get
the
down
first
here.
step.
JP, have you had a chance to?
I had a chance to look at it today. So this won't be a significant comment from me, but you're gonna have to deal with it at some point. The water service location that your engineers have shown is tapping on the end of the main to the east of the existing house.
Yes.
And then snaking back and around and going to
Yeah.
the proposed house. Water Authority has jurisdiction here, so they may not be terribly happy with that scenario and may want you to extend that water line. Don't shoot the messenger.
No. We've been in contact with them
Mary John's.
Okay,
And she's the one who, it was pretty much her idea.
Okay.
To do what we did. And what, they have it a little bit off here, at the end of here. We sort of went more up like this and back into here. So it's that's the only difference.
Yes, I don't think they'll care once you leave. You have a meter pit at the road.
Right.
And what you do after that, they're probably not gonna care too much.
Yeah, no, she was the one that said we need to put in a 2-inch line, and it would be, and she did the math to make sure we have enough pressure over the hill and all of that stuff. So we got her approval before.
Yeah.
We even went on.
So the second thing is the fire protection,
Yes.
because you're quite a distance from the roadway,
Yes.
and the drawing shows that the nearest hydrant is still yet another 180 feet going to the east.
Yeah, it's in front of the orange house there next door.
Yeah, so you're stretching, I think, fire code for the water. Now, there's mechanisms, and I think Cheryl would be in the building code enforcement will know those regarding sprinklers or other mechanisms to meet that fire requirement. So
We also have a pond that's down here as well.
right, and then there's options for a dry hydrant,
Yeah.
but the dry hydrant can't be
Dry.
right. The fire marshal has to be confident that
Sure.
that's actually viable for fighting fire.
I did, a couple years back, I did dig that out to about 9 feet, because it was really settled. It was only about 3 foot deep. Making a lot deeper.
So the only other engineering comment I had was the use of the barn in the back. These were all together once, and now we have a new application with the new house, and when we have multiple uses, you know, if it's commercial or agricultural and a house, just documenting what that use is and if it poses any issues with zoning, some of the requirements.
What is that, just for equipment storage?
Lease, I do lease the lion's share of that to a local farmer, Dave Muggins. I don't know if you know Dave, but yeah, he's got a lot of stuff.
So basically, it's no change from what.
No, nothing's, no.
You know, this is a sketch plan, kind of folks to give us some kind of ideas.
Yep.
Where we're going. The access driveway to the house, and if you decide to put in a dry hydrant, if that's one of the options you have.
Yep.
Might need a bypass. Okay.
Bump out, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a width requirement on that, I believe. Is it 12 foot, I think?
That was like 16 now.
Well, no, on the primary drive, and the bump out would be 16, right?
Yes.
I think it's even wider just for emergency vehicle.
No, I said, just so your designer knows in the final that there's some other design requirements. As part of that, you'll have to share over the code with Cheryl and stuff like that, and decide on that. Pretty high up in that area, there's no other wetlands or anything, or
I didn't see the
no
issues.
issues.
I didn't see them.
Okay, you had some comments?
Yes, with regard to the common drive that's apparently being proposed, there should be some addition to the plan that shows the outline of the common area and with meets and bounds, distances, angles. Basically, so a surveyor would box it out. And so you could run the legal description by simply looking at the plan and seeing how it works and it matches up.
Yeah, we have, if we ever go to sell it and it's two different parties, then everybody has an equal right to access and safety and all that other stuff.
And going with that, we would want to see an easement document showing that the common driveway agreement exists. Because that is their
When your
plan.
family are one thing, when your family and get along is another thing. If your family and not get along, or you sell a house, all the T's gotta be done.
The other thing, and I am the messenger, is it's about the water. Do you want to extend the water down Brick Schoolhouse Road? Do you want the next guy to be able to tap in? Because if you don't ask this gentleman to extend, then the next guy is going to say, my God, how could I possibly afford to extend it that far, all the way back?
If he was the only property thing that an extension might be requested, okay, and then when going in, you were involved with the original water line and paying for some site changes to get it into his property already.
Yeah.
There is something to be said if we decide to connect different water districts. At that time, I think the responsibility, and I might be speaking out of turn only because I know the gentleman, but the decision has to be made if he ran his water line out to the front of the property, that as the extension goes by, he'd have to look in and he'd have a temporary service until because he owns both parcels.
I can say the water authority's been in flux. I think on the main subdivision or the Nat subdivision, they suggested if you're gonna get water, we're gonna extend it all the way to the end of your property line.
Okay.
And it seems like they backed off on that policy. So
Yeah, but
if
we don't
you've
know.
done your homework and Mary Johnson and the water authority are in sync with you, then I wouldn't. It's under their jurisdiction. I think we just need to look at the fire protection, make sure that there's some way to address the building code regarding that.
Right, and at the very least, would there need to be an easement out front in case they ever want to?
I think water authority already has it.
They already has that reservation
Yeah.
strip?
Yeah.
I thought that's.
30 or 35 feet.
I can remember Chet saying something about it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep my mouth shut. Cheryl,
I have no comments. Mr. Delano has been in my office multiple times, discussing this project, asking for less. Is there anything
well, we got a
so far?
fairly complete application, so it's probably as a result of you working. That's just something bad. What's your name?
What's his name?
We'll keep it up, we'll keep it up. Okay, back and forth, look at cheesecake. Cherry cookies for you. Yeah. Oh, come on.
No, I really enjoyed reading a thorough.
Very complete application.
Yeah.
Okay,
Excuse myself. Jim.
what's the next step? Public hearing?
It's a sketch plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
if you think there's enough here to schedule, we could do it, but if you wanted to make revisions and kick it around again, you could do that too.
Should I go sit in the audience, have you ask me a question?
Oh, you mean?
When we go to single lot subdivisions and resubs and stuff like that, if you have a complete enough application, we have been able to look at it for preliminary and final approval on the same day.
Okay.
Okay? If there was any issues that were, that could stop the whole process in the track, like not being able to get the easements in on time, or recordings and all that other stuff, then we go preliminary and then final.
I'm not even worried about that, it's just a question of scheduling.
You think you could have any of those items we're talking about taken care of in a month?
Yes.
Okay. The rest of the board can make a decision. Let me ask for something.
The schedule. The
We'll
schedule.
just schedule a public hearing then for March sixth. Mark, have any comments?
No, thank you. We're fine.
Okay. Move then that we have a public hearing then for March sixth.
I'll second that.
Take the vote.
Sharon Steigerwald,
Yes.
Steve Law.
Yeah.
Dave Aaron,
Yes.
Rich Slider,
Very good.
oh, James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Mark Palestine.
Yes.
Okay, you got a date. Thank them. You see somebody doing the homework. Probably,
Yeah.
He was anyway, just so you know.
Make sure on the site plan you get that driveway issue.
Yeah. Cheryl, Cheryl, I like what I need to do.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do whatever else.
Consider it done. That covered all three issues, right? Yeah. That was on there 3 times. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, page 2. Got one notice. Main subdivision.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back again. Now the next item.
Oh, you did?
What did the county ask you to do now?
Actually, Greg just wanted us to change some text on the map. He wanted the subdivision renamed, so we changed the title block, and he wanted some information put on the back of the subdivision of the parcel that's being retained. There were some things that he wanted, like I said, we're just text issues that he wanted to change before he signed it. So we haven't changed the map otherwise in any other way. I mean, the subdivision itself is the same, the lot is the same dimensions, the septic system, the house has already been built, it's just text changes that need to be done with the map. And the bad thing is, by the time Jim and Greg worked all this out, all the signatures had expired, so I'm back here again looking for signature.
Well, if I signed it once, he's pressed to not sign it again. I don't have any.
Keith,
I have no concerns. I'd sign it right now.
everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Ready? Would you like to add something?
No, I do not like to do anything. This has been a long time coming and we finally got it figured out.
Oh, there's quite a few practical difficulties.
It's been an interesting job, no doubt about it. And again, I want to thank you guys for just being really good with this on this. So,
We got time? We have a mile.
I do.
We're on a mile for time.
What's the one? Ready. So right before with JP and.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Pete, do we need a resolution?
Like that?
Yes.
There. And so, hang on to that pen.
No, I'm gonna give it up. I don't even need it. I think Jim probably, I already did.
Propose that we approve the site plan Mylar change approval for Meg subdivision at 307 Drake Road. This is a Mylar re-signing due to Monroe County's request for changes. There was a request for a subdivision name change and lot number change. All documents have been submitted for review, a new site plan and Mylar for re-signing.
Second.
Sharon Steigerwald,
Yes.
Law.
Yeah.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rich Slider. James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Mark Palestine.
Yes.
We're gonna sign it from this point.
All right, well, thank you very much for all of this, I appreciate it. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Alrighty, next one is Dean subdivision.
I believe you have, good evening. I believe you all have, maybe a smaller copy of this. The site plan for the Dean, what was the Dean Skidmore subdivision, on Center Road. I'll put it up here. Okay. Interested in lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. This was probably about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. We had lived here. We owned this property, owned all of this, 10 acres. When we sold this off, we had the subdivision done. Parcel for Dean, my son, and a parcel for Skidmore, who lived right here and gave us the property we needed for the driveway to get back there. We had this all building approved at the time. Well, years come by, nobody's built anything there, neither boy did. So this property has gone back to Monroe County for non-payment of taxes, and it has been for a good 5 years. And this one is in my name, Gary's in my name, and at one time it was building approved, but we're under the understanding that since a previous perk test hasn't been done in years, that it's not building approved anymore. I don't know for
I
sure.
think it's a time frame, because I think that was approved in 1995.
Okay. So my question is, what do I need to do to get this status building approved again? The idea is we'd like to get this ready to sell. I have gone to Monroe County when they auctioned off the property probably about a year ago, maybe not a year ago. But the way they conducted the bids for it, they wouldn't tell us what the bid that you had to meet was. So I just kept bidding and bidding, and it just got too expensive for me. So ended up nobody bought it. Nobody even bid against me. And apparently, just not too long ago, it came up for auction again. And my understanding is, because I called down there and they said it was not sold, nobody bought it. So I was thinking I'd like to get it and build something, use the both of them. Obviously, nobody's paying taxes on that one, it hasn't been, but we've been paying our taxes. So I thought they'd probably go for it, but apparently they're asking too much for it. They wouldn't even tell me what the minimum opening bid was.
Yeah, they did. They gave you 5,000.
Right, but when you got there, I don't know if you're probably all familiar with it. You bid and bid and bid, and if they say, no, you didn't make the bid, what they were looking for it, the opening was 5,000, I got up to 8,000, and it still wasn't enough, so we just left it. But, so I've come to the decision we have that we're probably gonna sell it. It would sell better if it was building approved as it was, but apparently it's not anymore. So my question is, what do I need to do to get there?
Well, there's a couple different things in play here, and I'm gonna defer to Keith in a second. Your name's still on the deed, although the taxes have been paid.
Oh, yes.
For all 3 lots.
No, this one Monroe County, that went to Skidmore's. We gave that piece to Skidmore's. Yeah.
All right. So the site plan that was originally approved is now for the lot. So the site plan's not the same.
Well, let me ask that question, because I don't understand that, maybe you would know this. When the building approved status came through, did we each get one? Or is it for Would Skidmore's have got one? And we would have
Subdivision
got
of the
one?
3 parcels are for 3 individual lots.
The one was, I read.
This is all
I-
one
I-
25 years ago.
Next old.
Yeah, I understand that. So there's more than one thing at play here. The subdivision probably would need a resub key, not showing that lot. And then it'd have to conform to all of today's standards, zoning codes, setbacks, anything else. Setbacks, side setbacks, driveway widths, all that stuff might have changed in the meantime. I'm not saying that they have, that it all has to be researched. You need to go back through the approval process.
I think
Go
that's
ahead.
part of it. The other thing is that it would appear that they have some sort of shared driveway arrangement.
We do.
And well, while that's shown on the map, I don't know that they ever followed up and followed easements.
Well, here's the question I've got. Does the subdivision even exist anymore? Since we made that arrangement with Skidmore's, but we didn't make it with Monroe County. Maybe they're not interested in that subdivision at all.
Subdivision and site plan are two separate things.
Mhm.
If that map was filed at the county clerk's office and it was a map for 3 lots, one, lot 2, lot 3, then it still exists and it hasn't expired. But the site plan is the design for building, and you have a site plan superimposed on lots 2 and 3.
That's right.
Now, under our town code, because of the passage of time, because nothing has been built, those site plans are expired.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to build quickly and you were sticking with what you've got, the town planning board, this board could reapprove what's there.
Not planning on building. We are not.
I'm not asking whether you're building. You said you wanted to sell a buildable lot.
Right.
We think it would be.
Well, yes, I understand what you're saying, and you're correct. Most people want an approved lot, that's what they call it. But an approved lot requires an approved subdivision as well as an approved site plan. And the site plan issue is the question. You would have to get it reapproved by this board, which they could take what's sitting there and say, yup, it's great, let's do it again. Or they could say, due to the passage of time and acquired knowledge, maybe we should do something different. However, since lot 3 isn't before us tonight, since you don't own it, then we can't really tie lot 3 into anything. Really, you don't have the authority to speak for lot 3, only the owner can do that. The question becomes, can lot 2 stand on its own? And I think your attorney should probably confirm by running the abstract of title, the history of the property, whether any easements were recorded that bind lots 2 and 3 together for using that common access way to get out to whatever road that is, Hamlin Center Road. So yeah, that's the issue right there.
So what I hear you saying is I'm looking at attorney fees, I'm looking at maybe getting this all redrawn, I'm looking at spending some money to get this done.
I would think so, yes.
Or just sell it as, is it possible we can just sell it as is? I'm not interested in putting a lot of money in it.
Boy.
Well, you can sell anything as is, but the more complicated it becomes, then people won't be willing to pay top dollar.
Yeah.
If that easement was never filed as part of the site plan, and the only access to those other 2 lots are across lot 3 that they don't own anymore.
If you look at the
Well,
subdivision,
lot
though,
one
it
is
looks
off
like
of
they're
Wyman.
flag lots. They are flag lots.
Yeah, they're.
So, I mean, they own land out to the road. It may only be 10 or 15 feet wide, but, so it's not just strict, simply, they have some rights. But I would say that the effort to make this a buildable lot, where you really want to tell us what building you're gonna put there and where it's gonna be and the size and shape and everything, which you don't know, the site plan approval should be the next owner's thing to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, okay, it's my opinion. You have one too.
I understand. I think they can talk to a realtor and find out what sells this week. But if you wanted a buildable lot, you want a lot that has a site plan.
Yep.
And I think your point is, well, I can't read this.
It's small.
But yeah, if it has its own access point, it may stand on its own even though the county took over lot 3. Of course, you have to be comfortable with 3 driveways next to each other.
Well, lot 1 It actually goes off of Wyler Road.
Right.
It doesn't really
It's just two.
Oh,
come
okay.
back to them,
Okay, so it's just the two.
just
Yes.
the two.
So they each have what, 15 feet, you're saying?
I'm just guessing, I
Oh,
can't begin to
okay.
read it.
20 and
20 and
20 and
20.
20.
Awesome.
It just means a long, expensive driveway.
Oh, yeah.
It's not,
Always call a realtor, you find out what they would
Well,
say.
I did, and told me, start here.
He already called me.
Yeah.
If you look at the common boundary line between lots 2 and lots 3, I'm not even sure what that is. It looks like
Like a cul-de-sac.
yeah, like a mini cul-de-sac.
That's what it was proposed as in the beginning.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that doesn't work any longer.
Okay.
No, but the driveway could just eliminate that and come back into lot 2 and do that. You know, I mean, that would be changed. That would have to be changed.
Lot 2 does own after that driveway, go back there.
Go in there.
That excuse
But you're saying that may not
you
be up to code now.
Well, if you have to split off the 2 lots, then you don't want to share that, I would think.
We were told that we really needed to combine them so that
You don't need to have a
emergency
cul-de-sac.
vehicle could get back.
No,
No, that was something we were.
actually, Schultz put that in.
Putting the 2 driveways together gave us the width that we need for any emergency vehicle having to get back there.
At that time, we didn't.
do you own lot 1, or who owns?
No, we sold it 25 years ago.
Yeah. Maybe he would be interested in lot 2, or she. Because that's easy access for them if they want to get land.
Well, actually, I mean, if you could run a driveway right across, I don't know how far out that goes. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be
that-
another option.
Yeah. Just bypass all that. You know what we're talking about?
No,
I don't know if you know the owners of Lot 1. I mean, could you bring a driveway across the top of Lot 1?
Yeah,
not really.
that wouldn't work there. I don't believe.
Okay.
There's a big pond and big log cabin, it's an exit and entrance out of the basement.
Okay. So we're looking at an expense anyways to do anything with that.
Probably usable.
Well, what about this? Would the board approve what sits there right now, just basically a time extension, without any changes?
Well, I'd hate to set precedent with zoning code changes and everything for that amount of years.
I will mention to you that the Monroe County, when I was at the bidding thing, they're selling this as a building approved lot.
That's not our issue.
Okay.
And they're not gonna negotiate with you. I'd
No,
be
I
shocked.
found that out.
You,
Yeah.
you don't even mince words because they think approvable lot and an approved lot is the same thing. Okay, because they base their taxation on, and at one time was an approvable lot for building, not vacant property, even though it is.
And the county sees it as a separate tax account number, and
I
that's.
know, that's all they see, okay? Where we can't by local law, we're restricted, okay, to look at it that way. And somebody might own that lot and keep coming in and go, we're not building it, we can't get anybody to buy it. You gotta reduce my taxes to a different level. Okay, and yes, they could, to a certain extent.
I
Not
think.
a lot, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd have a hard time setting that precedent of going 95 to 223. And I'm speaking for myself, support you, and I'm sorry that that's the way it works out. But I'd have a drawer full of prints with surveyors and engineers sitting there, okay? And then we'd have to fight with them because the setbacks have changed, drainage has changed, creeks have risen, water mains are now in place, we're not gonna need to, do water service changes, fire codes changes because the size of trucks, bypass things, hydrant locations, and all that other stuff. I'm gonna sit here and argue with not 1 million people, but enough that it just wouldn't be fair to the tax base to allow all that time to happen. It's if it was 2-3 years, okay, that's one thing, you know, if someone was sick, they had some problem with family, all that other stuff, we had COVID involved, okay? And we didn't have any problems with doing stuff like that. No, I really gotta have the taxpayer and our board and our regulations to be upheld. And I'm sorry to have you have us here tonight, but like you said, talk to a realtor, maybe the people in lot one, there's options, okay? Maybe the county wanna buy it, I don't know. Maybe they have somebody, maybe they have somebody that wanted to be at the auction to bid it up, okay? But,
I think what
I can't give you the right answer.
I don't know what to do with it.
see, the problem is, I don't know.
Reserve that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what they were doing here at Town Hall 6 years ago, whatever it was. My question is whether that easement for a common driveway was ever recorded. That's kind of substantial.
That's key.
Because
Would the engineer have done that?
no. Usually, well, I suppose it could have, but there's supposed to be an easement that eventually gets recorded at the county clerk's office, so it would be on file. And if you were the property owners, it'd have your name on it. So you would have to pull county records going back to the date of this map and see if an easement was recorded. And the easement would create that common driveway over the two strips that are running all the way up to Hamlin Center Road. And if that's in place, then it becomes a simpler matter of just doing the subdivision or site plan for lot 1 or lot 2 over. You cannot touch lot 3 because you don't own it, and you cannot bind them to any changes to lot 3. It's not yours to do.
Right.
But if you have the easement in place, then they're kind of stuck with the driveway. What they're not stuck with is anything that you choose to do on lot 2, because in effect, those site plans have evaporated. Even though you can see them, they're gone illegally.
So if I go there and find out that the easement is, what was the term used, recorded?
I would have your attorney get the abstract of title and have it brought up
I went to
to
the next
date.
auction and I bought that. Now we've got more.
Well, if you own both of them, that's easy. You could come back here and ask the board to say, I want that reapproved as it sits.
Okay.
That would be the cheapest way to do it, assuming your realtor thinks it's still a good plan that would sell.
But I do want to make sure that easement is recorded.
Yes, and I would do that now. I wouldn't wait,
Okay.
mess around trying to figure out who owns lot 3 or
who's
whether you can buy it.
Engineer and record on that, man.
Schultz.
You could talk to them and get their opinion on this stuff too.
Okay.
What would it cost to create a new one and such?
And
They'd give you some free advice.
this might even go back to Chris's dad.
He was there, his dad was around then.
Yeah, Ed was probably here, because this is my early days. That's the planning board.
Jim and I were on a board back then, just sitting out there.
But in any event, Chris Schultz may have some insight for you.
Okay.
And
Well, yeah, Chris himself, he come out, he was the one who did the surveying and the part, and his
Yeah.
dad owned the business.
Right.
We met up with him a couple of times, so.
yeah, so you can check with Chris. He may know whether things are filed appropriately and
Okay.
could help you on your next steps.
Okay.
But as Keith suggests, if you don't own lot 2 or 3 or whatever it is, it complicates matters quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Seems like more asphalt, but I guess it has a lot.
Yeah,
I guess that's right here.
That's
Are we doing Frank for number?
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not on.
All right. I wonder if we have.
I'm under discussion.
Yeah.
So Cheryl was saying the argument.
Yeah, we are doing Frank, yes.
Where's, I didn't see it. Still working?
I think you got an older agenda here
No.
too.
This year,
I have two agendas. and
first year here.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
bye.
Well, I apologize. My agenda didn't, I had two agendas.
Everybody did, and I thought I pulled them all, but you grabbed yours first.
Okay. And I didn't see, Mr. Sanson's on the center.
There, he's right here,
Okay,
waiting patiently.
once again, we have my apologies. Wasn't in front of me. Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Mr. Frank Sansone, 6596 Short Acres Road. Brief overview, and then we'll get this.
He has already gone to the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah.
And received his CHA permit.
Okay.
Brian Bedient with Home Power Systems, and we're installing a generator.
What's your name?
Brian Bedient
Okay.
with Home Power Systems.
All right. We've been down this road and a little bit before.
With other persons, yeah.
Right. Janine, we have any issues?
I do not have any issue.
Okay. JP?
Is this on natural gas?
It's gonna be propane.
I guess just proximity of within the coastal hazard area and floodplains, which I'm sure Cheryl will take care of with the building.
Yes, yes, and he did clear out his, I think there's 14 or 18 feet from the house up to the lot line, so he has plenty of room. It does have to be 5 feet from the dwelling because of the openings and vents that are available there.
And the only thing with the generators does show a nice hedgerow between, but the noise impacts on neighbors when they.
Sounds like a lawnmower, like a riding lawnmower.
I know, when they come on at midnight, if one thing when a lawnmower comes on at noon on a Saturday.
Yeah, and we do it, well, whatever time works. Usually default it to Mondays, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is and try not to disturb people.
Keith?
I have no concerns, it's a type 2 action.
Cheryl?
I had no concerns. I've been on the property. I've spoken to Brian multiple
Sighting
times.
and elevation and all that other stuff,
Everything
that's all your bailiwick.
It's good.
Sharon?
I have no problem with it.
Steve?
Nope, no concern.
All set. Yep.
We're good.
No questions.
Okay. Anybody want to do a resolution for approval here? Yeah, I've been.
Again, what I'm reading. Okay, I'd like to propose that for the Conservation Corridor Development Permit for Frank Sansone at 6596 Short Acres Road, we consider it to be a type 2.
Sharon Steinerwald,
Yes.
Steve Law,
Yeah.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Rich Slider,
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein.
Yes. And on the main motion for Frank Sansone, 6596 Shore Acres Road, the applicant for Frank Sansone, owner Frank Sansone, seeking Conservation Corridor Development Permit to install a generator on his property within 100 feet of the lake. Tax account number is 007.51-2-5. This is in the SR, LWR, SR zone and LWRP and CHOD. The application has received the CHOD permit from the zoning board of appeals. This has been deemed consistent with the policies of the LWRP. Following documents have been submitted for review: letter of intent, conservation corridor development application, aerial photo, and diagram of the generator location.
Sharon Steinerwald,
Yes.
Steve Law, Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rich Slider,
Yes.
James Nesbitt.
Yes.
Mark Bellerstein.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for the delay.
You're welcome.
Okay. Today, we have anything new?
Well, the tree giveaway that the Conservation Board does in April, we have to, Cheryl, have you sent any order on the trees?
No, because they're not due until March.
But we have, basically, we're gonna order the same variety of trees, 600 seedlings, and some are transplants for our tree giveaway. And that'll happen soon.
We've applied with the state or the powers that be. We're gonna try and expand the Hamlin ambulance district to cover all geographical areas of the town of Hamlin. Fire districts we've been working with, and now it's just a matter of getting county, state approval so that Hamlin ambulance can cover that over concerns of response times from ambulance corps changes.
We're gonna be able to staff it?
Yeah, they're staffed, everybody's, Hamlin ambulance is good to go with the Mercy flight taking them over, and there's big concern over because the town of Parma and Hilton ambulance covered part of the east side of town, and with Monroe ambulance, I believe, is taking them over. There's a concern over response times, and we have to take care of the residents on that side of town. That's a concern, and that's open. Hopefully, that's what will get done.
Very good.
And we are working on battery storage law. Steve's been working on a draft, and we'll be discussing that further and put that up for public hearing, I think, in the next month. 2 months.
Farmland Pres?
That is waiting in Albany if they ever go back to work there. We're all set. All we gotta do is sign to get the grant, and we're just waiting on
Who's there pushing Albany?
everybody. Steve was on the computer for, I think, 4 hours today trying to sign a document that we were told was ready to sign. And then after many emails, because you can't talk to anybody on the phone because they're still working from home, we found out that the document's not ready to sign. It's just, they need to get to work.
Okay. I don't think that's JP.
You've probably noticed the sewer project's finally making a mess, and they've been putting pipeline down on Walker Lake Ontario Road. They've got a big staging area north of the Parkway on Walker Lake, and you've seen a lot of pipes strung out along the Parkway and along the side roads, so that's progressing. Newco's pretty much all the pipes installed already, and they're working their way over. I think the next street's gonna be Sandy Shore, so sewer's finally progressing, and they've been working on the bore under Sandy Creek, and so far so good. So that's progressing. I think the only other item brewing is we're still welcome to New York State. We're working with the Department of State and the LWRP. They've finally provided comments, and I believe there's a conference call coming up to try and get over the next hurdle. So the LWRP update is progressing, albeit slow.
Do we need to have another meeting before that? Have you reviewed the comments enough to have somebody make that decision?
I think there's going to be after the conference call. I think most of it seemed, my discussions with Jocelyn Gavitt and the people playing in our office was there are a lot of really just formatting issues they wanted. They, change the number here and just nothing substantial. So
do they have a different English department or
no? I don't know.
What computer program are they using? Office Notes.
They need to
versus
justify,
something else.
they need to justify the delay, so.
They
Yeah,
need
don't-
to justify their job position.
Don't-
Okay.
Don't know, but I think there's
'Cause I got a
not,
Webster's dictionary.
I don't think there's anything substantial changing that anyone has seen. It's just the state's
I got
comments,
some stand-up too.
the state's comments back regarding. And they didn't see some substantial, so we're gonna try and address those things. And then I think after we meet with the state again, well, it'd probably be a good time to regroup. So that's close.
Okay. I think everybody's jumping at the bit, but we still got a couple of things. Keith?
No great legal matters. Usually when the state legislature changes the law, we're a little deeper into the session.
I imagine. Well, we got a couple of questions for you, I
I think I've already cleared up the one question before the
Okay.
meeting
think. Okay,
about the farm labor camp.
yeah,
Um,
okay. And do we need,
Other signatures?
My take was no, because Cheryl isn't asking for a site plan. Which begs the question, why did he submit a site plan?
right,
I don't know.
as long as the health department's happy and they've signed it in two different places, so,
Do we even need, JP, do we even need your signature on here?
So the only thing I saw is this November 10th letter from the Department of Public Health to Jim Gugowski, the engineer for Brady, or the surveyor, saying the following approvals by either letter or signature on the plan will be required from an engineer, preliminary planning board, Monmouth County Water Authority. So the Department of Health, and I think this is related to it being a migrant or seasonal farm worker thing. The Department of Health raises it to a different level, so they're asking for signatures from those entities, planning board, water authority, and town engineer.
Okay.
And I believe that's why Jim Gugowski circulated it, so he could get health approval.
And that
Now-
was, and it was not made out to be that way, so,
Yeah, I mean, this is a letter
yeah.
from November 10th.
and I think
so-
some things might have been lost before, since the time he got sick.
Yeah.
Okay, and when he got direction from us back in 21. Because
I
it
think
came
that's-
before the board as a sketch issue,
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
two things happened. We approved it.
June 17th or something.
Well, the original plans were
Going
June
back what I
of
had.
17th of 2021,
Right,
and it was approved, and then
Went to zoning.
it went to zoning, and then Brightly went out to buy the steel building or whatever it was,
okay,
and he found one that could be supplied less expensively, so they changed the dimensions. So it went from, I don't know what the square feet was. Let me just say it's 2,000 square feet, and it went from being 20 by 100 to 40 by 50 or whatever the math. It just changed dimensionally. The rest of it, the grading, the septic, nothing else changed. He just found a more economical building. And I don't know why it made a full circle back again, but to me that was like, okay, it's a steel building with 6 units in it or whatever.
Yeah, it's 14 by 70, so it's your
Yeah.
basic, mobile
okay,
home.
well, you know, that's good, because when Dean was in the other day, he was talking to Cheryl, and we said we were gonna try to look into it and try to get some answers why this happened. And not leaving it on our doorstep.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was the important part of the whole thing. So Cheryl, we're good with that, right?
We're good with this. I'm just gonna ask you, to sign it. I will sign it.
So
It says town,
as long as this was approved a couple of years ago, then all it is a technical correction with new signatures.
We don't even need a motion for this, do we?
Oh, I think you do a motion for this, yes,
Okay.
because of the passage of time.
Yeah, so even I emailed.
Where is this for?
I couldn't find it. It was 1668
The farm labor
Redmond
camp
Road.
on Redmond Road.
68, he already has a house on there that is a farm labor camp. He wanted to add a larger building in the back.
Yeah.
On the other side,
Dimensions.
wasn't there.
remember this, and I've been here 10 years.
See, guess what?
Okay, and
You know what?
the town put in a water main with this, and one of the driven part about that was that they did have potable water to drink and a waste stream, and we looked at it in June of 21, okay?
I don't have any record of that.
Okay,
I don't have any
and
minutes, any
that
agenda.
Legowski got sick, COVID, Hamlin, all that other stuff.
Yeah,
And then when.
that's the go-to answer.
And then when Jim got back, Legowski got back healthy, he started trying to get this all put together again and getting, you know, the okay from the health department. Okay, because
So
they expired.
the planning board approved this in 21?
Planning board
21.
has never been to the planning board.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
it
I don't remember
I
this
can't
either.
find the minutes.
I don't remember it.
Okay, so before I have any signatures,
Right.
I'm gonna
I don't
make sure,
remember.
because I'm gonna do all the minutes, I'll look again.
I don't remember.
We, yeah, I don't have,
You see
I'll
the
look
print?
again tomorrow.
I mean, where did it come in from? Originally, a site plan?
But no, when there, I think it was
For a
confusing, because it was
building
1668
that needed to
and
be
then
placed
1216
behind
down
the
the road.
residence.
Oh, and
It wasn't
they
adequate
changed the address.
for the,
So I look again, I know I searched all these.
Well, you should-
I mean, it wasn't
Under
really,
normal
hey,
circumstances,
Dave, you
you
gotta
have
do
a
something very
public
simple in Evans Road
Yeah,
there
fuck
2
that.
years back.
Oh, that was with a mobile home.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Yeah.
but there was,
I turned the
you know,
whole
you get
office upside
everybody
down.
else involved in it,
Be
you
careful,
know, and everybody's looking at it, people take care of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
He wasn't
I
too
don't
sure.
think this
It was
is
a-
public hearing.
So I have my notes from, in an email from Jim
Because
Kugowski
he just wants to put up a building.
that says enclosed is a copy of the site plan for
Farmer will come in.
deep
He should be here for
housing
So that's
projects.
it.
No, that'd
Project
be
started
no-
last year, however, the deal fell through for the building. Another
Health
building
department's just
became
wanted to
available,
see
so
what's going on.
we
Yeah.
started where we stopped last year.
Well, you want a motion?
Probably should have some kind of
I'll look, I
resolution.
mean, I don't doubt that at all, I
Finally,
don't have that, but I went through all the minutes and
This is a type
agendas.
2?
I went back to 19 even.
Well, that should already.
It's just a reason.
It's a recent, so it's not even that, yeah.
So it should be,
Yeah.
the original drawing was circa
Yeah, I'll
June,
make, I mean, if you-
July 2021, so it's probably under July 2021.
No,
As soon as
he
they
never
get
sent it to me, I just got copies of those, he just dropped them off.
Well, okay,
Just like
then let's be real then. It's never been before the board. JP has seen the materials.
No, yeah,
We never approved it.
That's okay.
so
I
do we have to
I
make
think- think I would remember a farm labor camp. They don't come up that often.
Yeah, I don't-
I think we have to have a public hearing.
can we just schedule a public hearing, or do they have to come back twice? I mean, do they have to come back before us and then have a separate public hearing schedule?
Hearing for that.
Sharon?
Does anyone else want cheesecake?
Butter everybody up, so what's your,
I think you could schedule a public hearing today.
okay, I need a motion.
Propose we schedule a public hearing for, what's the address of it?
1668.
Yes.
For the construction of a farm labor structure, whatever you call it. Farm labor camp, for a public hearing on March 6th.
Have a second?
Second.
Steve, I need you.
David, can you still call them camps?
You never know today.
Maybe
Okay.
a townhouse or something.
Sharon?
Yes.
Steve?
Condos,
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes,
James?
Yes.
Mark, okay. well,
Cheryl,
thank
you should email him that we need, like, the other materials that normal.
I will,
Yes.
I will.
Okay, I got a question that still includes Keith.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Can I,
I'm sorry, Keith.
as a result of comments in the past, some that came from you about letters of intent. Okay, we got 2 really nice looking letters of intent tonight.
Very nice.
Okay, did you see those copies, or, because we have used in the past the application, okay, as a letter of intent. Do we need to change our letter of intent letterhead in order to further agree to that type of notification of the letter of intent? Okay, and how
That
far
means
does
for
it go?
our cover letter, or should we call
Right,
it
the
a cover letter?
Did you see the ones we had tonight?
Yes, I did.
Are they adequate?
I think they're fine. I mean, it's a question of what you want. We had one from
Our,
Doug Keith, actually.
oh, yes.
Yeah, those,
I mean, and it does what, I mean, you can call it a cover letter as much as anything, but,
What UDS brought was also.
you know, he writes to the code enforcement officer and the planning board, which is what they're supposed to do, you know, and it says, I've enclosed the following items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it has a paragraph that says, the applicant seeks to merge a 50 by 290 strip of land off the southeast corner of Lands of Young to the north line of a residence parcel, thereby increasing the size of the residence from 200 to 290, blah, blah, blah. No development or construction of improvements on either parcel is contemplated. He basically says, this is what we're asking for. What he really doesn't say perhaps is why we need it. That would be the other thing we like to hear. For those businesses, Boss and Bauer on King, what's that, King Street?
Yes.
they weren't so good.
There was some there. They were saying, you know, the one gentleman was saying, you know, I'm operating, I do motorcycle repairs, this is what I do. So, you know, it's a site plan for motorcycle repairs to be located at 47 King Street. One of the letters talked about hours of operation. I think they did.
Is there a?
That's nice.
Is there a simplistic template?
I
I'm
don't,
gonna take this one step further.
I don't have that. Usually what you see from the engineers is actually probably the best.
They are the best.
Because
Yes.
it'll say, you know, this is what we're asking for, this is what we got, and it'll do a couple of highlights. And so I suppose you could put together a template or something that says, or a question that says, please talk about this, that, and the other thing.
Right, I think it goes to, what does your application require? So if someone submits a full application and they've checked all the boxes, that's a full application. If part of your application says detail description of your project, why it's needed, what you're, then that's part of your app. But if you don't request it, then you're gonna get just your application.
Yeah, we've always done like that, what
Right.
the cover sheet has been for, I don't know, 25 years.
And if you like it, great. I mean, when I read these, I often see things that are like a chicken scratch.
Basically,
Or it
it's what
says,
is from
you know,
the-
Well, let's, you know, what I'm doing here is spitball.
Yeah.
Everybody. Okay, so everybody's got equal stake in this. All right. What happens when they go to court, when someone stood here in front of us and says, my intent was, that I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this on this piece of property as a tenant. Okay, but there's nothing on the record, he said it. But should that be encompassed in a letter of intent so that it makes us, when we sit in a legal proceeding, okay, well, you said you were gonna do this, that, and the other thing, and you haven't performed that. At the end of the day, then the town has something to hang its hat on when they go to court, when someone does something that wasn't included in a letter of intent, by coming back to the town and asking for a reapproval, including that type of activity. And we've experienced it over quite a few times in the last years.
So it's either
Okay,
there,
so,
it's there or in your notice of decision, right?
Yeah. yeah.
well,
That's
I mean, yeah,
motion,
there's something that can be said for special conditions. But the original intent, okay, of a letter showing what the activities are gonna be in that property or on that job site, or what have you, okay, is something that we need to hang our hat on. That's where the spitball stops, okay? You know, I was gonna put up there who's on first, but the responsibilities, all right? You got a homeowner, he's got a job, he's got a contract. The contractor comes in without necessarily a letter of intent, but a description of the job he's gonna give, and gives Cheryl all his insurances and all that other stuff, but who's ultimately responsible for the alteration of that property?
The owner.
The owner. Okay, so that contractor should actually come in with a letter of intent and the homeowner saying that the contractor is gonna be his agent for that modification of that property.
That's why we have
One.
building plans too.
Right, yeah, I understand, but what I'm saying,
Yeah.
legal documents, because we haven't had that much trouble with this, okay? But when you come over here to a use on a piece of property, whether it be commercial, industrial, residential, whatever you know, the alphabet soup calls it, all right? You have an applicant. And a lot of times, we're looking at the applicant as a tenant. And the tenant gives us a mouthful of promises that he doesn't keep, all right? The actual applicant is the property owner. He's responsible, and if he has multi-uses on his properties in a certain district, he should be responsible. Should this person, a tenant, because the use that he's gonna use it is changed from a hairdresser to a motorcycle repair shop? Okay, so there's gonna be some changes in how it affects the environment and the other properties and all that other stuff. He's the guy that's gotta pay your fee and all that other stuff just for the pleasure to rent a piece of property from the property owner. And who knows what his contract says, that this guy's responsible for all permits and all that other stuff.
And responsible for all alterations, yes.
Right, okay, that's wrong. All right, it's wrong right there. And without that letter of intent being part of the document that's provided, in the verbiage that you would feel comfortable with, and you have to live with, okay? This needs to change.
Yeah.
And a letter of intent, probably, in your infinite wisdom, is a way from a legal standpoint, because you've been involved with it in court. Your statement was you were gonna do this, Mr. A, but you didn't do it. Okay, depending on what side of the coin you're on at the time. But it's cost this town bad feelings, and every time we've had to deal with it. And for the property owners here that are trying to keep our town going because they're businessmen, okay, but their ultimate idea is they want to make a big buck. But ultimately what happened is the taxpayer is paying for the lawsuit, the problems, the sheriff's time, and everything else. All right, so collectively, continue spitball, and I think we need to come up with something that we can use that puts us in a better position in the future.
Well, I can give you the answer, you just won't like it.
Well, we don't want to listen to what you got to say. We want you to put it down in writing for us to take a good look at it. I'm sure you're not going to.
I'd like to hear the answer.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
Without getting into the details, really what you want is a site plan, a fully engineered site plan, because the plan is the permit. Now, you might have a decision letter that adds some conditions that doesn't ultimately make it into the plan. So those two things, we like to look at both of them. And maybe we look at the minutes for context, but it's really about the site plan and the decision letter. And the site plan shows us exactly where things are supposed to be. Now, this is not a site plan. This is Rich Meyer adding a few site plan elements on top of a subdivision. So he shows a few parking spaces over here, which is nice. That's something. If you had, I haven't seen it, but if you pull the site plan for the Tops Plaza, you've got a supermarket and you have a couple other commercial units. And if one of those tenants goes away, you pull that site plan out of the cabinet and the proposed new tenant comes up to us and says, well, I'm going to take over unit number 3. And everything outside doesn't change. So you see what the plan is. You've got the parking, you've got the buildings, you know, the access, the lighting, where the dumpsters are located. Maybe he decides to put a restaurant on that slot. And now we need additional dumpsters, or maybe there's a pickup place for takeout orders. There could be a few tweaks. But fundamentally, the site plan is already there. And so we don't have to worry about it. We've got something we could show a judge. That's what we have.
But if you have pre-existing uses that were approved under a certain area, you're not always going to get the site plan unless you hold the property owner responsible.
We don't care who pays for it. All we care is
we don't care, but we need to know who's letting it happen.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why are we not requiring the owner to sign the applications?
They do.
So this owner signed the application for changing use?
Supposed to be, yeah, they should be.
This is a special
But they're
use.
not necessarily here. And tonight, we actually had an owner
Yeah.
come back here, and I was glad to see that for a
Me
change,
too.
okay?
The generator.
Okay. So,
And the other question I was gonna ask is, could not the application have all the words we wanna have in it for describing their action? Whatever their proposed action is, you know, guide them along it, but put it right in the application, because some letters and intents are fantastic and others are not, they're telling us
That's
everything
what
but what we need to know.
Yeah,
that's
usually
what I'm
it's just very
saying.
brief.
I would like the ability to have that built into that system. And if it's a simple,
I
you
mean,
know,
JP touched on
form,
it.
yeah, that's fine. But we need to have something that works. When we end up in court with someone doing
That's-
something they're not
That's
supposed
where,
to.
I mean, your application should tell the applicant what they need to do.
And zoning can allow all kinds of different things. One thing might be more dangerous than the other.
Your
Okay.
site plan application could ask basic
So
questions.
they could modify their site plan if they had one to begin with.
Well, the question is, if they don't have a site plan, maybe they should. Just because the buildings are already there doesn't mean they get off the site plan hook. Now, you may choose to let them off of it, but if you're taking over an existing building to set up your motorcycle repair shop, I still want to know where you're going to park.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
And that's kind of relevant. Where are you going to park? Where are you going to put the dumpsters? There's going to be a fuel tank. Where's that going to go? And something more than a squiggly line on a cocktail napkin. Tonight, I don't know which gentleman it was. Maybe it was the second one. He was telling us they had a parking lot on, I guess that would be the Dilts property in the upper left.
Yep, 74.
74. So we find out that yes, he's going to have a place on 47.
Right.
He's part of his site is
73,
74.
you pointed that out in your comments.
I did, and then I heard something else about maybe he has something going on in lot 1 as well, and it just keeps going. Yeah,
Well, lot 1. Is that the one here?
that's
Yes.
next to 74.
No.
Yes, I thought he was saying he had something stored there.
No,
I
where he
don't know.
has his parking, where the trailer and the tank is on the trailer.
He mentioned it as a
was
storage
here.
building, but it's not.
Okay, he said it's parked on his property to 50 feet from the property line, 50 feet from the building, which meets the fire code.
I know one town where they have a medium-sized shopping plaza, and they had a fair amount of turnover in their tenants. And so their requirement was every single time they had a new tenant, they wanted the site plan freshened up. And so they went back to the original engineer who had it up on the computer, on the CAD, and they would do just that. And for a lot of them, it really didn't change much because, if you go from this tenant to that tenant, the exterior impacts are pretty insignificant. The interior ones, maybe there's something.
Chinese restaurant to a pizza.
That's right. And the restaurant change is actually usually the one that
Well, I
kicks
saw on
it.
Facebook the other day with Chinese food sitting in a carton with cat litter. There's no cats anyways.
I mean, there's a shop.
Funny you brought up
It's
Tops
like
because
chicken,
now
it's
we
good,
have
right?
two bottle returns right next to each other, but we don't have a bank, okay, anymore. And that was on the site plan originally.
But it doesn't pan out, you can't.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So now we got two, instead of two pizza places in the same thing, we got two bottle returns.
But the one bottle repair is the bottle return is Tops. He
Right, but
runs.
now they put an entrance to the outside.
Because they had to put one in the store, because if you sell bottles,
Right.
you have to have a return. But the return next to him he came years ago for that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and he
I'm
gets,
just making.
he gets all the Tops business, so.
But the now there's a door to the outside.
Somebody's foot could slip.
With regard, if you're worried about the tenant, is that part of the concern here, that the tenant is
Okay, so
getting?
look at the tenants, okay, if we cite the tenant with something that's the actual developer's problem.
You
Okay,
mean, by site, you mean like with a code violation?
code violation, no
Okay.
parking, no weapons, painted right and all that other stuff. And you say, well, gee, my new tenant's causing that. So
So the
who's
answer,
on first?
the answer is you prosecute them both. What do you think the police do when they know a crime is going on and there's a group of people milling around.
Everybody gets arrested.
Damn right. And then they pressure each of them to turn on the others. They do it constantly. Well, we do the same thing here. The landlord probably, a good landlord probably has a commercial lease, and the commercial lease says, this is the use you're approved, and oh, by the way, go get your permits at the town hall. And yet, it is still the property owner's responsibility to manage his tenant. He doesn't get off the hook just because he has a lease.
Okay, so the guy goes and he gets his permit. JP looks at it and says, I'm sorry, you don't have enough parking. So the guy goes back to the owner of the property, goes, I need more parking. We're gonna have to get rid of some of this green space and everything else like that. Guy goes, I ain't gonna do it. But he comes back to us and says it's gonna happen. It's shown on the drawing, never does, and then you gotta go back after him and you're sitting in court.
No, you don't
I'm
zoning
just-
for variance for parking.
Well, right, yeah, absolutely. But is he gonna get it when he has no parking spots? It's something to chew on. I mean, if you want a decent letter of intent, we need to know
I
what.
have templates, I looked them up today,
Okay,
so I'll review
so, but I mean, if we
them.
want, pass them around and see if they're adequate for, for our stuff.
Right. But I will say in
Okay.
the beginning, this is a very unusual circumstance that happened with Bauer and Boss,
Yeah,
because the landlord did not tell them they had
Yeah.
to come to the town. So then I come along with the fire marshal, and I say, "Ooh, what are you guys doing?" That's how it all started when we found out.
well, we've had this type of thing in a couple other properties that could have gone that way. They got Quigley's is over there, okay? But,
If you want to rent a space in a Wegmans Plaza, the folks on Market Street will say, great. They look at your financials and talk about all the stuff, the terms. They have some sort of outline of basic terms everybody agrees on. And then they say, well, go to the town hall and go get your permits. And what they normally will do is they'll either hire their own engineer or they use Wegmans' in-house engineer who handles it. It depends on the property owner and the landlord's sophistication, their pockets. Now, it sounds like this gentleman doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to spend it, and that's great. God bless. But you usually have to understand that it is the tenant that is paying the freight on most commercial
and whether
arrangements.
they realize it or not. And
That's correct.
the thing.
One way or the other, either he pay, even if the landlord said, "Don't worry, I'd hire the engineer," oh, he's going to fold that back into the rent anyway.
Well, Wegmans was good at it because they had Russ Porter on there in the house. Engineer got rest his soul, and he knew a lot about it.
Yes, and you'd see the same Wegmans guys on the circuit, right? But most people don't have that.
Well, anyways, I want to chew on it. And, Carol's got some stuff underway. And if you have something to add.
I was gonna say, if you do require a letter of intent, make sure that the property owner has to sign it also.
Well, we've always, for the past 25 years, what they usually provide, that was their letter of intent.
Right.
That's what we use forever. And then when this came up, and then talking to Keith and having his comments, it's like, yeah, it should be more.
Right, that's what I'm saying, if we require a form letter of intent on an application, that the property owner has to sign it also, so they know exactly what the applicant is applying for, and they agree to it.
But you
Now,
get the
if someone
property owners
has
to
a
compare.
site plan, JP,
This one doesn't compare less.
somebody has a site.
Surprising, it's yours.
Original site plan, they come in with different people. Okay, different tenant. Now, instead of having to review the whole site plan, and all it does is affect parking where they might need to do some respacing and repainting and stuff. Now, you're gonna charge the same fee per hour as you are gonna look at that one as you do with a brand new one?
Well,
I don't know what your fee schedule is.
No, my fee schedule is hourly. So,
So if it's simple and it's adequate, it's cut and dry, takes no time.
we used to have a fee schedule. We're getting into the weeds here, but we used to have a fee schedule for preliminary or concept preliminary final. And years ago, we said that it doesn't work because it doesn't fit into those boxes where they're nice and neat. So years ago, we switched to an hour. And so if we get a shabby application and I write 3 pages of comments, it costs the applicant more than if you have a thorough application and I can get it through with 3 minor.
I'll beat this horse one more time though. We have a site plan in front of us this evening for a single family house. I don't really need a letter of intent for that. It's pretty damn obvious. But I have a plan. I can look at the plan because the plan tells me that thing, we had multiple people in multiple buildings. What's going on? Yeah, I didn't know what was going on last month.
Well, we have a regular booklet shows what our specifications are and everything else, and there's minimum requirements for a site plan. Okay, so when and where we think we need to have a new site plan, or if we don't have one in existence, is it up to us to tell the property owner, until you bring a site plan that's in somewhat of conformance to the town, we're not gonna entertain any? Do we have the right to deny them going shopping for tenants and move out? Or do we
Absolutely,
just
right?
as hold the
Penalizing some for the sins of others.
Huh?
You're penalizing some for the sins.
Right, I'm just saying. do
You
we
see
have the
there,
right to
and
do
there's
it?
the weakness right there.
Right,
You
so.
have a heart, Steve. Get rid of that.
Be an attorney.
I can tell you, in some towns, well, I can tell you the way your law is drafted. Your law says we want a site plan. Boom. Now, customarily, you have often waived site plan. So you haven't necessarily done the formal motion to do it. But state law says you have the authority to get rid of the whole site plan process, or at least water it down to the extent you believe it's necessary. And that there's good reason for that oftentimes. You're not gonna like this, but I think you're overly generous when you do that sometimes. There are probably people
I got
who should.
thick skin, I don't know about how the rest of them.
I think for something like this, I think there should be perhaps at least a good master site plan. And that would make life a bit easier. I mean, this is, last month we had, oh my God, we had chicken scratches. I didn't know what the hell was going on. But yes, you can require a site plan for everybody, and by default, you do. It's just a question of whether you want to waive it or waive it in part. So it may be that amongst yourselves, you decide, oh, this is a project, yeah. Now, here's the kicker. It costs money, and then people will complain about that. And so there may be that small tenant in the small space who doesn't want to drop $2,500, just for bottles and cans or whatever it happens to be.
Okay, further discussion. Phil, you might wanna talk about powers to be. I don't care which way or another, we're all qualified.
I'd like to say something, sir.
Sharon?
Sharon, yeah. The cookie lady, yeah. We had that gentleman come in for a site plan for the Countryside Convenience Store in Marks Plaza. The site plan that the planning board approved it on was worse than that one for the spaces. They decided not to come here because we asked for more information and a site plan, and the owner was not receptive to that. So I hadn't heard from them at all, and then two young men came in to pay their engineering fees. They came in to pay their like $315 engineering fees, but they said, thank you very much, but we won't be coming out here. So that's just a tidbit I think everybody should know.
And we have an empty
Now what?
space.
You missed, man. You
Yeah, but they paid their
Each case.
Fine.
God bless them for paying
That's
their
good.
That's, I mean,
What's that?
But it is
So
what it
each
is.
case has to be taken
We
on
don't
its
have
own
a site
merit,
plan.
and you are
I'd be
allowed
better.
the board to press on the items that you require based on the severity of the project.
Well, I'm asking every one of you to put your minds to this, and we can discuss it further on next month, because if we need to change some of our requirements or put limits on some of our requirements for requiring the site plan, it's gonna go back on the owner of his property to provide.
I would anticipate that, like the gentleman, who's the gentleman with the curly hair?
That's
The
Bauer,
motorcycle
Jeremy
guy.
Bauer.
I did not see him as a sophisticated businessman who was gonna normally race out and hire a professional engineer. It looked to me that was the type of business where he was like, oh, I want to spend that money. I think that's probably where it would have boiled down there.
We gotta put the onus back in the person that has the wherewithal to do it.
That is correct. And I think in the process, you're gonna wind up turning down a couple people or driving them away, until the landlord pushes back and says, why are you doing this to me? And we say, well, gee whiz, we got nothing to work with.
But that hurts some people on the intake part.
That is correct.
So can we go to the landlord now and say, look, we've gone through this. We would like you to prepare a site plan for your properties on Kings, so we
Yeah, I
know what's
think
going on.
ultimately it falls on.
Because it's quite confusing without a proper document.
I already spoke to him.
No, can't we require that?
Cause
I mean,
these
we
kids
should
are
have
gonna last
already.
there
If
forever.
we didn't already, we
Future.
scheduled public hearings for those, I think you're doing
No,
a
no,
disservice.
I'm not
What
saying,
he
I'm
said.
saying these are done.
Yeah, these are done.
These are done.
These are
They're
But
not
going
gonna last there
forward,
forever.
Going forward in the future.
going forward, why wouldn't we ask for proper site plan for this development?
I think you could do that, or in the, and if he refuses, in the alternative, as a tenant comes in individually,
Yeah.
a prospective tenant, he's got to do a site plan at least for his portion of whatever's there. So if I'm the prospective tenant for 47 King Street, whatever business I'm interested in running, and if it's just 47, then I would come in with a fully engineered site plan for 47.
Except it's a standalone building.
But
Whatever it is.
we did this for the dance studio back in the day. Because, okay, the dance studio was gonna have 14
Bunch of
kids there at once, and then all these cars coming in and picking up and dropping off. And so we said, wait a minute, needs more.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a heavy, intense, short use. We need to know what's going on with parking, because there's nothing really there. And they gave us a detailed site plan for that little wedge, the last slice of pizza on the end there.
Singular site plan, so did Crosby's.
Right. These other ones have been, a little more nebulous, esoteric, it's like, okay, they're using a garage space and this is a garage space and they're not going to have heavy customer. There is a difficult balance, but
Yeah, I don't know if you can make one form to satisfy every application. Some of that's
it doesn't,
really
but
up to the
I
board's
think
discretion.
Keith's
Each
point,
one's taking on its own merit.
right, and Keith's point is perfect when you got a lot of moving parts. And we've done it over at the old shopping mall. All right, just let's document the parking that's there and how much you're gonna need, and is there enough for all these different uses. We used to do it for Bob's, when Bob's Market had 10 different things coming and going.
Wow.
We asked them to document that a few times too.
Just ask you guys to start thinking about
Yeah.
it, because it's come down to like, you got businesses that are failing, you got other properties
Yeah.
that are vacant, they're gonna be coming in, you're gonna have Duffy Mats is half torn down as it is, that might come back up to us, and you might wanna be ready for it. It might take 6 months to have this change.
Yeah, it's
an
tricky, no
environmental
question
change.
about it.
Well, our building permit does say applicant, and then it says owner.
Yeah.
So the applicant usually is the person
Right.
who
it's the
owns
owner,
the
right.
property owner, or in this case, the applicant was the business owner, and then the owner signs underneath where it says owner's information.
Legally, if you want to bind property owner with the conditions of a permit such that you can go to court, as you discussed, it is the owner at some point who has to sign off.
Yeah.
And we want them to sign the application now. Tonight, we had now we're gonna go into the weeds. Tonight, Doug Heath was here on behalf of, was it Karen Unterborn?
Yeah.
And he submits a copy of a contract between Karen and the property owner, which is an alternate way of doing it. And for this kind of project, so what? It doesn't matter, and it's technically correct and all that. But the more cautious approach would be to make sure the property owner signs the damn application each and every time. And if that's bothersome, then turn down the application until he comes down to town hall and sign it.
And we keep, like the application, everything else like that, I'll put another room in my house just to hold the documents before I get them shredded. And we'd be here till 9:30. We did really good on the first part. I had to spoil the rest. There was no football game that or anything else. All right, well, think about it by the time we get there.
Like
That's good. That's supposed to be the only clown here.
Keith and JP, thank you so much for
All in favor?
Appreciate it. when
Well,
things
that's what you pay
get,
us
they
for.
get sticky, it's like,
Did you guys get an adjournment? Did you get an adjournment?
Sure.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
you guys want to get something with you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
No.
I had
Send the last half hour.
I make a motion to adjourn. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, JP.
I super appreciate it.
Hey, Captain Ken.
I'll keep them, yeah, I'll keep them in my.
Oh,
Think it's crazy. It's crazy numbers.
Conservation board.
So you better put more money on hers.
It's important stuff. I was kind of trying to get it.
I let my grandkids try. You did? That would be like.
It's kind of one of those.
Was it like the perfect dude?